My name is Emily. And this is the story of how I found love by the sea, how I lost it to the waves, and how life taught me that love never really disappears, it just changes shape. I still remember the very first moment, as clearly as if it happened this morning. The smell of warm bread still clung to my clothes, because I had just finished baking at the little town bakery where I worked. My hands smelled faintly of cinnamon and sugar. I carried my cup of tea down to the shore like I always did, to sit, to breathe, to let the waves speak to me. And then I saw him, a stranger. A young man walking by with the easy stride of someone who belonged to the sea. The breeze lifted his hair, and when he noticed me sitting there, he stopped. Our eyes met. And he smiled. "Hello," he said. It was just one word. Simple, but my heart skipped. I didn't even know why. "Hi," I replied softly. That was the very first time I heard his voice. He told me his name was Liam, that he was new in town, that he worked as a fisherman with a small boat of his own. I remember the way he said it, not with pride or with complaint, but with love. He loved the sea. That much was clear in every word. And that was the first thread between us. Because I love the sea too. We sat there in silence for a few minutes, both watching the waves rolling in and out. You'd think silence might feel awkward between two strangers, but no, it didn't. It felt natural, comforting, almost as though we'd been waiting to share that quiet moment, without even knowing it. I thought he would never come back. People pass through small towns like mine all the time. They stay for a day, maybe two, and then they're gone. But the next morning, when I sat in my usual spot with my tea, he appeared again. This time with 2 steaming cups of coffee in his hands. "Thought you might like one," he said. I laughed and told him I already had tea. But I accepted the cup anyway, because something about the way he offered it, shy but hopeful, made me want to say yes. That was the beginning. He started coming often. Sometimes he brought coffee. Sometimes I brought cookies fresh from the bakery. We'd sit on the sand, our shoulders just close enough that I could feel his warmth when the wind turned cold. We talked about everything. And about nothing. About our favorite songs, the stars, the little joys of life. I remember one morning he asked me, "What's your dream, Emily?" I hesitated. Nobody had ever asked me like that before. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Maybe just to live quietly. To make bread that makes people smile. To sit by the sea every morning with someone who understands." He looked at me then, really looked at me. And something passed between us, unspoken, but strong. "My dream," he said softly, "is to spend my life near the ocean. It's the only place I feel like myself, the sea." It was our bond, our silent witness. Weeks passed, and with each passing day, I felt my heart lean closer to his. There were times, so many times, when I thought he was going to say something more, something deeper. One evening the sky was glowing orange and pink. We were walking barefoot on the wet sand. His hand brushed against mine just barely. My heart leapt, but he pulled it back quickly, stuffing it into his pocket. Another time, we were sitting close, sharing a blanket against the wind. He turned to me, eyes searching, lips parting as if to speak. But instead he said, "Look at that star. The brightest one." I smiled, but deep inside, I wished he had said something else. It was as if both of us were circling around the truth, waiting for courage. The tension was there, alive and electric. Every glance, every laugh, every silence carried the weight of something unspoken. It happened on a night I will never forget. The sea was calm, the horizon painted in orange and purple. The last light of the sun dipped into the water, and everything felt still, like the whole world was holding its breath. "Emily," he said softly. I turned to him. His face was serious, his eyes shining. "There's something I need to tell you." My heart pounded so loudly I thought he might hear it. "I think I'm falling in love with you." I stared at him, unable to breathe, and then I smiled. "Liam," I whispered. "I think I feel the same." He reached out and took my hand in his. Warm, steady, strong. And we sat there, hand in hand, as the waves whispered around us. That was the first moment I truly felt what it meant to be seen, to be chosen. But life is not always kind. One morning, Liam looked troubled. He told me a storm was coming and that he needed to go out early, to bring his boat in before the waves grew wild. I begged him to be careful. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "I'll be back soon." But he didn't come back. The storm arrived in the afternoon, dark and furious. I stood by the window, searching for his boat, praying for a glimpse of him. But the sea swallowed everything. The next morning, the whispers began. A small boat hadn't returned. It was Liam's. I ran to the shore, my chest burning, my eyes searching for him. But he was gone. The sea had taken him. They found pieces of his boat. But not him. My heart broke into pieces sharp enough to cut me from the inside. Days turned into weeks. I couldn't eat, couldn't work, couldn't even breathe without the ache of missing him. The town people were kind. They brought food, flowers, words of comfort, but nothing could fill the emptiness. I dreamed of him at night. In my dreams, he walked with me on the sand, smiling, saying, "Everything is okay." But when I woke up, he was gone again. One evening, I sat in our old spot by the sea, clutching my cup of tea, whispering into the wind, "Why did you leave me? I miss you." The waves offered no answer, only their endless rhythm, pulling and pushing like my grief. And then one day, I found it. A small, weather-worn notebook lying in the sand near our spot. The edges were damp, but the pages inside were safe. It was his. Liam's handwriting filled the pages, sketches of boats, small poems, notes about the sea. And at the very end, words written for me. "Dear Emily, if something happens to me, don't be sad. Look at the sea and smile. I was doing what I loved. Thank you for the mornings, the talks, the smiles. You made my life full of light. I love you." Tears blurred the words, but my heart felt both shattered and whole at once. He was gone, but he had left me this piece of himself. A reminder to keep living. With time, I returned to the bakery. And slowly, the warmth of bread and sugar began to heal me. But I wanted more. I wanted to honor him. So with the help of Mrs. Rose, I opened a small café by the sea. I painted it soft blue, placed flowers on the tables, filled it with the smell of coffee and cakes. I named it the Quiet Shore. I left Liam's notebook on a shelf for anyone to read. His words lived on, comforting others as they had comforted me. The cafe became alive with laughter, stories, and gentle silences. And slowly, so did I. One morning, a man walked in. Salt in his hair, wine on his face. His name was Noah. He came back the next day. And the next, we talked about books, about the sea, about dreams. He never pressed about my past, and I never asked about his. We simply existed together, gently, kindly. One rainy morning, we stayed inside the cafe, washing dishes side by side. I looked at him and whispered, "Thank you for being here." He smiled. "This place feels like home." And for the first time since Liam, I felt peace. Now, every morning I still go to the sea. I bring my cup of tea and whisper, "Good morning, Liam." But I also smile at the waves. Because love doesn't vanish. It changes. It grows. Liam gave me love. The sea gave me strength. And Noah gave me peace. And here I am, still sitting by the sea, still breathing, still loving. Because love, like the ocean, never ends.